Good afternoon. Welcome to our October SugarCRM user group. I am your host, the Director of Marketing, Deneen Pontarelli. Today's topic is one that several of our customers are very interested in, so we're very excited to bring it to you. We're talking about setting up and using Act-On with your SugarCRM instance. So two of your usual suspects are on the call today. Megan, our Sugar Trainer and Business Analyst, and Justin, our Sugar Practice Manager. Additionally, we have with us two representatives from Act-On, Rick Valdez, who's the Act-On Senior Support Engineer, and Vin Nugent, I'm sorry if I messed that up, Vin, Act-On MA Consultant, and they're going to be helping us cover this topic in greater depth. Before I hand it over to Megan to do the agenda, I would just like to bring your attention to the bottom of the screen where you have your widgets. Also, I believe it should be on the right-hand side of your screen already open, but if it's not, you can find it at the bottom. There are some links for additional resources going forward. There's a link for the registration of our next user group, and there's also links to pages about upcoming sugar training that we're having in late October and early November. So feel free to check those out and get registered for those when you feel ready. So with that, I'm going to hand it over to Megan to take us through the agenda.
All right, thanks, Deneen. So like Deneen said, today our main focus is going to be on the integration between Act-On and Sugar. And Vin and Rick are going to take us through a variety of topics, including installing the integration, how to set it up to sync data to Sugar and from Sugar, as well as how automated programs can play into your integration. And then, of course, as always, we'll wrap up the user group today by talking about what's new in Sugar, what new releases have come out recently, as well as any upcoming events that we have. As always, if you do have any questions, feel free to submit those as we're going or at the end through the Q&A section at the bottom of your screen. And with that, I'm going to go ahead and turn it over to Rick and Vin. So take it away, guys.
Thank you. Okay, so the first agenda for the topic today is going to be installing the integration itself. I'm going to share my screen here. Give me a second while I move this over to my other monitor. Cooperating with me.
If I'm remembering correctly, you might have to move what you want to share to the monitor that it wants to share. It might not let you switch which monitor you're sharing.
I think that's the case. Is it going right now? Can you see things? My Act-On account? There's Run Adobe Flash on my screen.
Yep, that's what you got to do.
Same thing.
Hello?
Yep, I see your screen now.
You do? Good, I don't. Okay, good. So let me give me a second until my screen.
Yeah, wait a minute.
Okay,
I don't
perfect.
see it.
Yeah. I'm driving blind.
Anyone on the line, will you guys let us know if you can see it? Just chat in the Q&A and let us know if you're able to see his screen, please.
It should be my Act-On home screen.
All right, we've got a response saying they can see it.
Perfect. Okay. Okay. So integrating. Let me just. I have a couple pop-ups that popped up here. Give me 1 second while I move those away. Okay. Okay, so first things first, we got to set up our Act-On account to your Sugar account. So first thing we do is we go to Settings, go to Connectors.
Hey, Vin, I'm sorry. I think someone clicked on a slide, one of the presenters. So presenters, please don't click on the slides. Vin, I think you need to restart the screen share.
Uh-oh. Okay. and it's green, so I think that might work.
Yes,
my screen now?
I see it.
Okay, just on the top. So again, we're going from the Act On main screen. We're going to go to Settings, Connectors, CRM, SugarCRM. My account is already linked up already, so what you would have here is Connect. You would hit the Connect button here, and then you would go ahead and put your credentials in. And then from there, you'll just see the screen here that's active. So the only other thing you have to do in Act On for now is under Settings, you go to Apps. You need to enable your API access. So you would hit Generate Key, and you would copy this key. Now in Act On, you'll see in your another piece of information you'll need is you're going to need the beginning part of your Act On URL. I don't know if you can see my actual URL right now. Let me see. Down here a little bit. Operating with me right here. This first portion here. So the CI36 is our server number, .actonsoftware.com. So yours should be CI53 or whatever number server that you're at. That's what you'll be looking at. That back up here in my bar. Okay, so that's all you're going to need to use for Act On for now. So what we're going to do is we're going to hop into Sugar. So away, and then in your Sugar account, go to your admin page, which will take you here. The first thing we're going to do is we're going to scroll down to your developer tools. Go to your module loader. In the Act On University, you'll have a link to the SugarCRM package. You'll download that, your PC or Mac. Hit Browse, find the file, upload it, and then you'll see this exact same language here. So Act On Integrated Marketing Automation for SugarCRM, version 7.x, the 8.x. We'll hit Install. It'll take about, 2-3 minutes, and then you'll see it pop up here, and then you'll hit Save. So then from here, we'll go back to it'll take you automatically back to your admin page. But we'll go back to the admin page here. We'll go to System. We'll hit the Repair button here. Nothing was broken, obviously, but just things were changed in the background. So we want to make sure we relink everything back in Sugar. So click Quick Repair and Rebuild. Now, when you click on this button, you're going to think nothing's going to happen. But down here, you'll see that something's loading. It probably takes about 4 or 5 minutes for Sugar to run its diagnostics. Then the screen will be replaced with a white screen, and it'll go through a bunch of check marks. At the very bottom, it'll say Done, and you hit Save. That will take you back to your admin page. So from here, we'll need to just go ahead and set up our connectors. Go to Connectors, and we're going to set connector properties. Now you're going to see the Act On Integrator. We'll go to that tab, and this is where we'll do our copy and pasting from our Act On account. So the URL, which is going to be that very first portion of your Act On account, so for my case, it's CI36.actonsoftware.com. Again, yours will be probably a different CI. We'll paste your API key, which is what information we got from your Act On account here. Now, if a number of additional teams, so if you're setting up multiple Act On accounts to connect to this your instance of Sugar, you're going to go ahead and put that number here, and you hit the Test Connector button. If you're adding additional teams, you'll just rinse, wash, and repeat this particular step with all your other Act On accounts. So you'll put that particular URL, and you'll put that specific API key for that Act On instance there. We'll hit Test Connector. That should say everything's okay, but if you do get an error message that says, I believe it's something along the lines of unauthorized IP address, and it'll give you an IP address. You'll copy that IP address, bring it back into Act On that same page, so that Settings, Apps, API Access, you hit Authorize IP address, and you'll paste that remote IP in there and hit Submit. You'll see that just for the same instance that I did here too. You'll see endpoint 1, and it'll hard code that IP address. It didn't move. And then you'll go back and test the connector again, and you'll get a success message. And go ahead and save that. This will take you back to your connector settings, and you're pretty much good to go. So with that, that is all you have to do as far as the back end for connecting your Act On account to your Sugar account. Now, of course, we want to go ahead and uncover all the good things in Act On inside your Sugar account. What we'll do is we'll go to leads. And we'll pick a random lead to go.
Hey, Vin, I'm seeing the Act-On screen right now, not the Sugar screen. Are you possibly on a different monitor?
I think
it's possible my display just froze up, but
no,
there we go.
You're right. I think it moved,
Got it.
It moved on me. Okay, cool. Okay, so let me go back to the admin page. I think did you see the portion for the connector?
Yeah, I saw it up and through when you switched to Act-On to go to the IP address. I think up through there, and I was with you.
Got it. Okay, cool. So let's go back to that page, and we'll start from there. Connectors. And I actually missed a step too, so I'm glad actually that happened. You can see that. So we'll Act-On integrator. We'll save the IP address. Things are good to go. And then now, since we have that connector, we just got to enable it. So we'll go enable connectors. And 99% of the time, this is all going to be already set up already. We just want to do this for a verification check. So go back to Act-On integrator. See all of your different entities and modules on the left-hand side. We want to make sure leads, contacts, as well as targets are in here, which they are. And we want to make sure this box up here is checked to enable external users to create external account records. We can create new records inside these objects. Hit save. And we're good to go. So now we'll go to leads, and we're going to lay out the dashboard for you. So we're going to go into just a random record, no matter which one it is. Now, the upper right-hand corner, I have this built out already, but we'll hit create, and we'll create a new dashboard. So again, I won't save this because I already have this ready, but we'll just go Act-On test. We'll add a row, and then we're going to add a dashlet. So we have two dashlets that we have here in Act-On. We have our Act-On activity history, which shows you all the different interactions that the customer has had with all the different Act-On marketing assets, so emails, landing pages, all that good stuff. And then we have the timeline, so a chronological account of when they interacted with those different items. We'll add those here. So first thing is the activity history. It's going to ask you which ones, so if you don't use webinars, or you don't want to take a tab, you can remove that. If you don't use forms or what, so on and so forth, you can pick and choose which ones you want to report. So we'll just, for the sake of argument, we'll save them all. You'll see that there's a tab here, right, for the overall summary. We can break it down by email. Again, this is my test account, so we don't do any kind of emails, any kind of outbounding marketing, so you're not going to see any data here. But all your data will show up here. We'll add a second row, and then we're going to go ahead and add the Act-On marketing timeline. Same thing, you can choose what you want to see, what you don't want to see. We'll save it, and it'll be here. Now you can choose to save this particular dashboard, which I'll go ahead and do. Now here you'll have your standard ones, your lead record dashboard, and then you'll have all your other Act-On ones. Now,
and then I'm going to jump in with just a quick comment there. Just an FYI for everyone. First of all, when you set up a new dashboard, you can share that with your users, so they don't have to set it up themselves individually. Or alternatively, if you want to just modify that default dashboard, you could modify the default dashboard and put it on the default dashboard, and that would automatically go out to all your users that way as well.
Perfect. We'll do the same exact thing for contacts. So it's literally the same exact process. You're going to hop into one of your random contacts, and then you hit the create button or edit an existing dashboard that you have and add this to the same exact dashlets. Your sales team and your users can see the activity history and the timeline. So as far as the setup, from the setup portion of Sugar, you're done. So everything else is going to be completed as far in the backend Act-On. So we'll go back to Act-On.
One other question while you're making that change, I had a customer actually email me this morning and ask me they need to update the package that they have installed in Sugar because they're using a really old version of it. In terms of what might change when they do that, it would only be essentially those dashlets inside of Sugar that would change, right?
Sure. Every once in a while, which we haven't had a major change for Sugar, you'll have to remove the package and install the package again, but we haven't had that in years. We don't foresee that.
Yeah, they last installed it in like two and a half years ago, so they just need to update so that they can get the latest Sugar release.
There you go. Yeah, that's pretty simple. So those go to the admin portion and the very, very first portion where we downloaded the zip file and uploaded it.
Right. Yep.
Okay. So now that we're in Act-On, again, this is an existing account that we have, and I don't want to delete these records. You won't have these particular lists. but you can bring them in now with using the import button in Acton. So when we hit the import button, you're going to have access to all the different modules that we see inside Sugar. So contacts, leads, targets, accounts, and then we have the target list too as well. So I went ahead and we already brought in the leads and contacts as well as the target list and your accounts. So target lists this can be populated by the reports. We have a test one that's populated by a report. So all the saved ones that you have in your account will pop up here and be populated. So if you have multiple ones, you can choose which specific target list you want to bring in. So with leads and contacts, the main thing we want to do is we want to go ahead and put these. We want to choose the fields that we're syncing. We also want to put this on a schedule because we want this updated periodically. So for leads, notice here we have a calendar here. That means we have an active sync. Well, I'm going to show you where to do that. So we hit the action button, import, export, SugarCRM sync setup, and this is where we get to choose all these things. This is what we recommend for all the customers. We want to push very minimal information back into CRM. We want to treat Sugar as your master database record. So we don't like overriding fields that don't belong to us, like first name, last name, telephone number, so on and so forth. The only field that really belongs to Acton is the Acton lead score. We choose that. Now, if there's other custom fields and other fields that your team's using, by all means, please go ahead and hit the update field button, select those, and go and bring those over. If you don't see these, so if it's a newly created field, you'll have to go ahead and bring it into the sync. We'll hit add list columns. Now you'll see every single one of the leads fields here. So if we wanted to bring a department, description, we can now bring that over for the next sync. Make sure to save it. And as we're pulling information from your CRM, we want to go ahead and add those new records that you guys are adding in CRM, update all the different fields that we're bringing over in the sync. And if you delete something in Sugar, we want to delete it in Acton too as well. Of course, this is the baseline scenario. If your team has different settings, feel free to change these. Let's put it on a schedule, daily, weekly, monthly. We can run this sync up to as fast as every 4 hours. So let's go and do a daily update starting at midnight. And then we can choose to run that now, but we'll go ahead and save here. We'll do this both for your leads and contacts. Now, one question that we always get is, how do we push this Acton lead score back into Sugar? The only thing you're going to have to do, because right now, if you remember in the sync that we just set up, the only field that we're pushing back is the Acton lead score. Right now, there's no information in the Acton lead score because it's just an empty field. We always keep track of the lead score on the back end. You just have to know what field that you want us to put it into. We create what's called a maintenance program. So if you hit the action button here, we'll go to maintenance, set up maintenance program. I already have this created in my account, so I'm not going to save this, but I'll just go ahead and put lead score. You name this whatever you want. It's pretty simple. So program steps, we're going to add a step here. We're going to change the field value. We're going to find the corresponding record in my all SugarCRM leads. We're going to find the field, Acton lead score, and that's automatically created when we install the package in Sugar, so you'll see that automatically. And then we're going to set it to the Acton behavior score. So if you have multiple score sheets, which you can, you'll select the score sheet you can that you want, but we'll just go and choose our default one for now. Hit done. We'll save this. And now you're going to go ahead and put this on a schedule too as well. So you can just have this go daily. We can run it once daily right before the sync. So I'll make that 11:45. We'll give it, we'll say 11 o'clock. We'll give it some time to update just in case we have a list of a couple million. We'll save it, and we'll exit it. So now at 11 o'clock every single day, this particular list, because we have a cog here, we can come in and see what's going on. We're going to be updating that particular Acton lead score every single day at 11 a.m. I should make that 11 p.m., but no big deal. And we'll do the same exact thing for our contacts too as well. If your team relies on contacts via the lead score, we have some accounts that don't do that, so I'll just leave this as is. So as far as syncing data, That's how we pull information and we push information back in for leads and contacts. With your form submissions, we can do that too as well. And that is going to be in your form settings. So I'm just going to edit one of these forms that we have here. So this is useful there. Go here to one of your forms. Your CRM settings. You can push the data when someone submits this form. You can choose to automatically go ahead and create new sugar leads upon a form submission. You can add a note to sugar. If there's already existing lead already, we can choose to overwrite that data with this form submission if you wanted to. Or if you don't mind duplicates, we have the option of pushing every single one of these form submissions as a brand new lead every single time. We don't recommend that. That's an option if you wanted it. Okay, so as far as next on the agenda is going to be automated programs. So by far, one of the most requested automated programs that we have are the automated programs that we build for our Sugar clients on my end is going to be to opt out. So natively, we don't have integration pulling in your email opt-outs from CRM into Acton. But it's a pretty simple and straightforward process. So under the contacts records, if you look in your syncs in your add list columns, you'll see that you have, and for whatever reason, in our account we have 2 of them, but there should only be 1 in your account. It's going to be email opt-out. So that's a true or false value that comes over from Sugar if your team go ahead and opts people out of email. So we want to make sure we don't email them on accident in Acton. So we bring that data in, and we create a segment. And I'll show you my segmentation logic. If email opt-out equals true or yes, I didn't know which one it was, but it is true. Bring them into this particular segment. Now, for most of our clients, they have this particular segment, and whenever they do email sends, it's suppressed against it. But if you want to go a step further and take this and put these records into your opt-out list, you can create a simple automated program. So I'll take this time too as well and kind of give you guys a quick walkthrough of how to create an automated program. Because it's pretty simple and pretty straightforward, but we'll create that specific workflow. So 4 tabs here. Very first one's going to be general settings. We got to name this thing, so we're going to call this one opt-outs. Program description. This is just for internal use only. So if a couple years down the road, if no one knows what this program is for, at least there's some kind of description and understanding. Source list. This is what's going to feed this automated program. So we're going to go to this specific list or segment and grab those records on a scheduled basis and run with this workflow. So what segment we're going to be looking for? For us, we're going to be looking at email opt-out. Everybody who comes over in my contacts has ever opted out of email. I can choose to attach notes if we're going to send emails through the automated program here, which we're not going to do, but you can if you wanted to. Schedule, I'm going to run this daily. I'll run it once daily at 1 a.m. is perfect for me. We can choose to do weekdays only, but we'll do it 7 days a week for us. These are different options. We're not going to select any of these for now, but these are different options you have for an automated program. You can choose to loop and repeat steps, which is something I don't recommend, but every once in a while it makes sense. We can suppress entrants that are on suppression lists. So if they've ever hard balanced, opted out, or spam complaint, if this automated program was sending emails, and I know that's what it's going to be sending emails, I won't even bring that particular record in because I'm never going to send to my opt-out, hard bounce, or spam list. We want our contacts the ability to re-enter the program for whatever reason. We would select that box. We can choose an alternate unique identifier. So if email address is the unique identifier and some other field would be, that's what I would select. And we can disable program history if we wanted to. And you have your time zone down here. Program messages, this is where you would add all your different content for emails. I'm not sending emails for this particular workflow, so I won't do that. Listen segments. In general settings, I chose email opt-out, but if I was using different logic programs or different logic segments, I'd bring them in here if I wanted to. And program flow. So again, everything in Acton is drag and drop. So we have a couple different versions of the wait step. We have a send email step. We have a copy to list. We can change information on your existing lists. We can send an email alert to people. This is your logic branches. So if then else. So if a particular record did something, then do this. If they didn't, then do this. We can do an external API call here. We can add people to the opt-out list, or we can create the record in CRM. So this is where you can create a contact or lead inside Sugar. So for this particular workflow, we're just going to add them to the opt-out list. Pretty simple, right? There's going to be no additional steps. When a record comes in, when a record comes to that segment, it's going to load into this particular automated program at 1 a.m. We're going to drop them into this workflow, which is only one step, which is add them to the opt-out list, and they're gone. We have the option of early exit conditions in our automated programs too as well. So if for whatever reason, if a specific action ever happens, that record would leave the automated program and not continue. But for our work case, our test case scenario right now, all we're doing is adding to the opt-out list, so we're good to go. We'll hit done. We'll save the automated program. It loads up here in opt-outs, and the only thing we have to do, because it's blue and not green, is to go ahead and start the automated program. So if you go to the action buttons over here, we hit start. You want to add the context now? Sure. We'll hit yes. Green, we know it's running. You can go to the dashboard here and see how many people have entered. We only had one person in that segment. We drop them in, and they exit the program because it's only one step. I can go to my steps, see who that particular record was. Weird error. That's the name of the person. We're going to back out here and see there's one person completed, but it's still running. We're still good to go. You have the options of stopping the program or editing the program or downloading any of your summary reports. So as far as automated program building, that's the good intro level walkthrough of how to build an automated program for a specific use case, which is how to add people from your SugarCRM opt-outs to act on. So that's pretty much my agenda on my end here, guys. Was there any questions or any other topics that we wanted to cover from my point of view?
Don't see any questions in the Q&A panel right now. So I guess we'll go ahead and continue on with our presentation and talk about new releases. But if you guys do have any other questions related to Act On, we can always have Vin go back to sharing his screen. I'm going to go ahead and jump back to the slides here. All right, so in terms of new releases, the big release here is the Sugar Fall 18 or 8.2.0 release that came out on October 9th. As you guys are hopefully getting used to by now, this is a cloud-only or on-demand only release. So if you are hosted in Sugar's cloud, then this release will be available to you. We've already started seeing some upgrade notifications going out, so if you haven't been notified about an upgrade yet, expect to be notified about that soon. And there are 4 big things in the release. The biggest one, I think, is the quotes module configurability. If you use the quotes module, or if you've ever looked at the quotes module and maybe didn't use it because of a lack of configurability, that problem has been solved in the 8.2.0 release. So with this release, administrators can now modify the fields in the line item section, quoted line item section of the quote screen when you're building your quote, meaning you can now add your own custom fields to that part of the screen. And administrators can also configure the fields that are in the summary bar at the top of the line section, as well as in the grand total section. So with this release and some of the features that have come out in previous releases, the quotes module is essentially entirely configurable through the administration tools at this point. So any changes that you would like to make in terms of especially adding custom fields, kind of the big request they were trying to hit here, you can do that now. Another feature in this release is a couple of new report chart types. This is a new option for your bar charts. Besides the stacked bar charts where you've always had the option to have two different group by fields where they show in one giant bar with different colors within that bar, Sugar has added the option to do grouped vertical bar and grouped horizontal bar chart types, which essentially just take that stack and break it out into separate bars within a group on your report. So make sure to check that out if you would like to be able to use some new chart types there. If you use revenue line items and the product catalog, there is a new user profile setting where if you have users using multiple currencies, the revenue line items can default in the user's default currency instead of in the currency that was set up in the product catalog. And there's also an improvement to advanced workflow to be able to add recipients for sending emails from not only modules related to the target module, but also related modules. So essentially being able to go 2 steps away now instead of just 1. If you have any questions about that or you want to see some pictures or even a video talking more about that release, I definitely recommend checking out the community post about it, community.sugarcrm.com. Just look in the releases section. Other new releases on the mobile side, there have been a couple of releases recently. Mobile 6.2.0 introduced the ability to create and modify quotes on the mobile app. And 6.2.1 was just a minor tweak to allow the forecast field, which is in the opportunities and or revenue line items modules, to be available for mobile layouts. And then finally, along with any new release, sometimes you have supporting releases of some of the other plugins. In this case, it looks like only Hint needed an update for 8.2. Hint version 4.1.1 came out October 4th. No new features there, just the compatibility with 8.2. Justin, do you want to talk for a little bit about 7.9 end of life?
Yes, thank you. The older on-premise version of Sugar, Sugar version 7.9, has its end of life on November 15th. That would be next month. So if you're on-premise and you're on 7.9 or an earlier version, you should plan to get yourself upgraded. Sugar's current release cycle is to have 1 on-premise upgrade per year. And if you get too far behind, you won't get security updates. In addition, as you get further behind, Sugar can change the compatibility of the stack you're running on. That would be your web server, your database server, your PHP version. And it's hard to make several jumps all at once if you're going from a very old version of Sugar to the latest version of Sugar. So it's always the most cost-effective plan to simply upgrade once a year as they release their new on-premise versions.
All right, I think that wraps up the new releases conversation. We do have a couple of upcoming events we want to tell you about. The first is our next user group in December. We'll be talking about Sugar Admin 101 best practices, so some basic best practices for administering SugarCRM. Thinking primarily perhaps about people who have taken over administering Sugar without necessarily having a lot of training ahead of time, who've kind of just come into an existing system and are learning how to manage it. But also probably some good takeaways for anyone who's a Sugar administrator, some things that you may not have realized or thought about before. We do have a couple of upcoming training classes scheduled through the end of the year. When I was putting this slide together, I realized how close 2019 is getting, and maybe it's time for me to start looking at scheduling some training classes in 2019. So expect some upcoming events in 2019 as well, of course.
SugarCon recap. Megan, Ari, and I went to SugarCon this year. It was held at the Cosmopolitan in Las Vegas. A couple of highlights from SugarCon. Megan and I were selected along with 3 other people to be their first team of Sugar Scholars. We helped out the technical track in the technical room. We helped get people there, get them situated. We helped the speakers. So it was a lot of fun being involved with SugarCon. If you want to read more about that, check out the Technology Advisors blog. The other highlight I ran into that I really liked was that the roadmap as presented at SugarCon always seems to be a little more in-depth than what they announce not at SugarCon. And they even have what they used to call Sugar Labs, but they had mock-ups of the way things could look down the road, and they were taking feedback on all of that stuff. And then they also had the standard training on sugar, as well as the standard tracks for using sugar and doing things better in your business. If you are interested in any of that or have questions about SugarCon, please feel free to reach out to us directly, and we really hope to see you at the next SugarCon.
All right, well, I think that is our last slide for the day. Last chance, if you do have any questions, we'll give you a moment or two to get those posted in the Q&A section. We do want to make sure if you have any questions about Acton's integration with sugar, or really about anything, that you have a chance to ask those questions. If, on a related note, if you have any suggestions for other topics for us to cover in future user groups, we are always looking for those suggestions, so you can put those in the Q&A or also just email any of us at any point, and we'll take your suggestions into consideration as we're planning our next user groups.
And the contact information for everyone on this call is also something that you find in that widget area on the bottom of your screen, and possibly also on the right-hand side of your screen. There should be pictures and emails and other contact information for Megan and Justin and myself, and for Vin as well. So if you think of anything and you want to follow up with some additional questions or suggestions, we'd be happy to hear from you. Okay. Well, I'd like to thank Vin and Rick and the Acton team for being with us today and taking us through this. It's really an important piece for a lot of our customers, and it means a lot to get that one-on-one information. I will be sending a follow-up email tomorrow that has this recording along with some specialized clips, and we'll take it from there. So I hope everybody enjoys the rest of their day. And again, if any questions come up later, of course, you see our contact information there, and you can always reach out.